Welcome back. Every single Tuesday, I will go live to answer questions about credit or debt, or even talk about specific uh, topics concerning everything. So, as you guys all know, I missed last Tuesday. I've only been doing this, two times I've gone live. So, this is the third time I've gone live um, with regards to anything regarding debt or credit. But this time around, last Tuesday, obviously I missed. I went on a actual cruise. It was a 7 day cruise, Mexican Riviera. Um, it's something that before I met my wife, I've never done it. But when I met my wife, her parents are avid cruisers. My thought process with regards to cruises beforehand, being a person who's never gone, was like, I don't want to be on no boat, out in the water, and what if you die or whatever the circumstance is. So I never really did it, and I was always under the impression that cruises were very, very, very expensive. So I just never did it, and I was able to go on a cruise with my wife. First time I think was about 7 years ago, and it was a great experience. Great experience. Had a lot of fun. But this time around, we went. It was the Mexican Riviera cruise. We went to Mazatlan, we went to Cabo, and we went somewhere else. Ensenadas? No, it was somewhere else. But nevertheless, while on that cruise, I got a lot of downtime, just away from work and all of that. The whole family went, so it was me, my wife, my three boys that I have that actually live with me, and then a cool thing is my actual sister went. My biological mother, and for those of you who don't know that story, I wasn't raised by my mother. I was raised by my grandmother, but my mom actually came. So my biological mom, that was really cool. My mother-in-law and my father-in-law. So we all were on this cruise, and that's why I missed last Tuesday. It was on the Carnival, which for some odd reason always gets a lot of bad flack. But I guess on the West Coast, the Carnival is not a bad place. But nevertheless, that is where I was last week. But tune in every single Tuesday. Around this time, I'm going to go live to answer questions about credit or debt. So, the thing that I was going to talk about today was credit cards and how to actually pull cash off the credit cards with no fee. Now, this is something I learned actually on the cruise. So, this cruise that I went on was my seventh cruise. I never, ever thought of anything with regards to this. But one of the things that I learned while on this cruise is how to pull cash off of your credit card without having to pay any fees. Now, when I say that, this is what it is. I've done with credit cards that I've had sent, one way you could do is through like PayPal, right? You set your card up, your credit card through PayPal, and when you pay for something, or if you send someone cash or whatever the circumstance is, you use the credit card. Now, for those of you who have done that, you know that you're charged a fee in order to use a credit card, right? It's a fee because it's credit. There's no way you can get around that fee, and it's based on a percentage of the amount of money that you send with regards to using PayPal. Another way that you can use credit cards, but you will be charged a fee, is through like Plastic, right? They're a company that allow you to pay your mortgage or your rent on a credit card, and they'll actually take the fees from that credit card. They'll actually take the money that you take from the credit card, basically write up a check and send it to the person you're trying to pay. All right, I have a question. I have a debt that is full paid. Okay. So what's the question? Come with a question. And I have a question. I have a debt that is full paid. Okay. So never stop 30. Tell me exactly what you mean by that. But are you maybe setting it up? But it has not been removed. Okay. So what's your question? How to get that removed? I want to jump the gun, but I'm guessing that's what you're wanting to know, right? Yeah. Okay. So one of the big things that you always hear everyone say is never ever pay a debt collector. Now, I don't know if you know, but I've been in the debt collection industry for over 15 years. I've done it all: management, collections, as a regular collector, legal verifier, as well as I've owned 2 debt collection companies. So when you pay off an account, depending on your situation and circumstance, I'm not one of them people who say don't pay it. And I don't say that because I've been in the debt collection industry, because I own a credit repair company now and been doing that for the last 2.5 years. But if you do, for whatever reason, pay off a debt that you have, what happens is the creditor has to update it as a paid in full account or a settled account, depending on what it is that you did. Now, in order to get that removed, there's a way, and it's called factual disputing. So you're looking for an inaccuracy. So whether you paid it or not, you could have gotten it removed this way. But a lot of times, because the account is already paid, and me being a when I owned a debt collection company, you have to respond to those letters. I used to actually respond. People would dispute accounts or, for whatever reason. And then you as the owner have to actually respond within 30 days of that dispute. So the credit bureaus will send you something showing the account name, number, social security number, all that type of stuff, and what they disputed, and you have to file an answer with regards to that. So when you factually dispute an account that's already been paid, chances are, and this is not across the board, but chances are that creditor, a lot of times, they're not going to respond, because when they look at the file and they're getting so many complaints every single month, they look at the file, the account's been paid, a lot of times they don't respond. But it's factual disputing. It's hard to explain, but basically you're looking for an inaccuracy. Even though the account is paid across all 3 credit bureaus, you look for one inaccuracy. And if you do find an inaccuracy, then you can dispute that inaccuracy. It's a special way, a letter and so forth that you would need in order to do so. And it can be removed off of that. But what I'm going to do for Never Stop 30, so you paid it in full. So yeah, same difference. So it's reflected on your credit report as a paid in full. I'm going to give you EARRETT recovery.com. I'm going to give you my email. Email me and I'll help you with the template. I'll tell you what to do as far as that goes. Email me there. Never Stop 30. Make sure you put Never Stop 30 so I'll know it's from you. And then I could tell you what to do with regards to that. I'll give you some options and so forth that could help you out with regards to that. So after I get done with this live, I'll probably be on it for about an hour. Let me know. Do you have any other questions? Never Stop 30. Paid in full. So yeah, so I hope that answered it. I mean, of course, you need the letter with regards to, how to send it and all of that type of stuff. And I can help you out with that. Just email me and I'll tell you what to do as far as that goes. What is your credit score? Are you in the 4s, the 5s, or the 6s? If you don't mind answering, Never Stop 30. You're the only person in here, so you get almost like one-on-one coaching with me. But I'm just curious if you're still in here. And if anybody else comes in here, just understand you can ask me any questions as I'm going through it. I'll get until someone else asks something, I'll go back into my story with regards to the cruise and how to take money. So plastic was the last thing I talked about. That's something that you can actual company. There are a bunch of companies out there where you can actually use your credit card, and then they'll take the fee. They'll take whatever it is, and they're going to charge you a fee depending on how much it is that you need. So most people here, I'm in California, your average 2-bath apartment is going to cost anywhere from $2 to $3 grand, or maybe even higher depending on where you're living. And so you can contact Plastic and actually pay through a credit card if you don't have cash, but they're going to charge you a fee. So typically that fee is anywhere from $50 to $100 depending on how much you charge, and that's a way that you can do it. But on this trip, when I was when I went on this cruise, one of the things that I learned is a way that you can pull cash off of your credit card. Now, it depends on what credit card you do it with no fee. are nothing. So of course my wheels are turning. Of course, I've even heard videos where people have said this, and I never really looked into it. But basically, this is what you do on the cruise. You go on a cruise. Most cruises through the Panorama, I think it is, or what is a Carnival, but it was their new cruise ship. 745. It was 745. Now 645. Get that email, or go on one of my videos, sign up for a 20-minute free consultation with me. I want to sort of kind of dissect what's going on, because it's hard. Everybody's situation is different. And so in order to figure out what's going on with you, I look at everybody's credit repair journey as a thumbprint. If you were at a 745 and you're at a 645, it's the mid 600s. Chances are, and it's just me guessing because I haven't seen anything on your credit profile, chances are you probably have credit cards that are a little over leveraged, or you have late payments. One late payment will drop you 50 to 100 points. And I'm guessing that just by looking at that credit score, you may have some credit out there that's, you have too high a balance. But email me or even sign up for a free consultation on any of my videos. You can link on there and you'll get it. But so when you go on a cruise ship, you can go to the casino at that cruise ship. Now, the key thing is you have to have whatever credit card that you're trying to pull money out as your main line. Definitely do that as your main setup as to pay your payments, right? Because most cruises, every day they have a gratuity, they have other options to buy other things with regards to stuff, whether it's memorabilia, whatever it is on the ship, they want to secure a credit card. So you go to the casino and you can get up to about $2,000 a day. So for this 7-day cruise, I could get $14,000 absolutely for free. So you go there, you say basically you want to gamble it, you take the money to the tailor, you pull out $2,000. Obviously, you got to be safe with the money, make sure you save it and you hold it. This is a way where, if for myself, for instance, I had a credit card that said if I spent $15,000 in the first 3 months, they'll give me 150,000 points, right? And 150,000 points is equivalent of anywhere from about $1,000 worth of cash up to $3,200 worth of cash. And so I wish I would have thought of this before I opened up this account, but this is what I learned while I was over there. So you get the money, pull it out. Obviously, you're not gambling. I'm not a gambler. I don't spend my money. I'm not giving my money away to the casinos, and I don't recommend anybody do it. But sometimes people do it as a leisure or fun or whatever. As long as it's not a problem, that's what it is. But you're pulling this money out. The credit card company doesn't know whether you're spending it for yourself or whatever. All they see is the charge happening through the Carnival cruise. So you get the $2,000 at the end of that time spent. You got $14,000 if you've been taking $2,000 each day. And obviously, if you have a credit card with that type of limit. Now, depending on your limit, if you only have $500 and you're just trying to get the cash out or whatever the circumstances, that's what you can do. But in this case, with $14,000, not only was I could have been $1,000 away from hitting that in 7 days of hitting that 15,000 and getting that free money, which $1,000 is a lot easier to spend than $15,000, right? You take that cash, you can put it right back in your bank and pay the credit card. And in this instance, you're not being charged any fees. So you're getting that money absolutely for free. So for those of you who've built up your credit, but you're a little bit limited on the cash aspect of it, and you happen to go on a cruise or you set up a cruise, whatever the circumstance is, you can pull that cash out, put it right in your bank account, not be charged any fee, and be completely satisfied and set up. My son just texted me, can you please drop off some food? I got to give that guy tough love. There's no way I'm going to his school at the end of the day because he has football practice and giving him food. He's going to have to suffer. But nevertheless, that's a way to get cash. And then guess what? With that cash, for those of you who live in different states or whatever the circumstances with an FHA loan or whatever the circumstance is, 3.5% down on a home. And for those of you who are very smart, instead of it's a lot easier to get approved for a multi-family house. That's his text message asking about the food. I'm just going to ignore it. Than it is for a single family home, because the more doors that you have, and for an FHA loan, you can get up to 4 doors, which is like a fourplex or a 4-unit apartment complex. They use the other 3 apartment for the market rent. I think you get to use up to 75% of whatever that market rent is, therefore allowing you to be approved for more money. And that's why, with regards to that. But in essence, you can find something, even if it's a first-time home buyer's home, there's a way you can pull out cash, get that property, get approved for that property, obviously your credit and so forth. There's some other things that have to weigh in, and boom, you got that extra cash. So that is a way to pull cash off of a credit card without having to pay any fees, absolutely for free. And I know it's something that can happen because my mother and father-in-law, the only difference is they pulled the money off of their credit card. The only difference is they actually spent it, but that's a way you could spend it and get it going with regards to that. So for some of you guys who don't know, my American Express, they cut every single credit card that I had outside of the platinum cards, because the platinum cards don't have a limit. American Express platinum cards, they don't have a limit on them. Technically, they do. After 15 grand, anything you spend over that, you gotta pay back, and then you could pay over time over the 15 grand. But nevertheless, all my credit cards, they cut my limits down on all of them. I didn't know why. I called them. They wanted to verify some information. It's going to take about 10 business days. I will send in the proof of my income so that hopefully I can rectify and get that money back up. But that is a circumstance with regards to that. So Never Stop 30. Are you the one still watching this live video currently right now? If so, if you have any questions, let me know. Put them down in the chat situation. How many of you guys have gone on cruises? How many of you guys have done cruises? So since I've met my wife, I've been on, I think, 8 cruises now. Obviously, during the pandemic, it slowed down. That's why over this year, within the next like 4 or 5 months, I'll be on a couple of cruises. And it's just because of the fees and so forth. Like when the pandemic hit, if you pay for a cruise and then, they couldn't go on the cruise, because I think when the pandemic hit, one of the first places we heard about coronavirus was on some type of cruise. But nevertheless, very strict with regards to stuff, and they would have given your money back or they give you credit. And so we just went on a cruise. Yeah, cool. What cruises have you done? But we went on a cruise just last week, and then before that, we went on a cruise back in May. And on that cruise, it was pretty cool because we got all these credits. So I had like $2,000 worth of credits. So at every single stop, we did something when we went off port in Mexico. Oh, you want to? Okay. Yeah. What state are you in? You don't mind me asking? I know nowadays you got to be careful, but the state doesn't narrow down to the city. So, but I'm just curious with regards to that. Your score. So it was 745, and now it's a 645. 100-point drop. Guessing that. But nevertheless, cruises are awesome. They're best, especially if you have family and so forth, because it makes everything inclusive. Like, for instance, on this cruise in particular. Oh, okay. So you want to. On this cruise in particular, I think for just me and my wife, it's like maybe $1,400, maybe $2,000. Around $2,000 is what we spent. 7 days. This last cruise that we went on. Basically, it's an all-you-can-eat buffet, right? They have all-you-can-eat buffets. They have They had like a barbecue spot where you got pulled pork, uh, collard greens, all kinds of stuff, absolutely for free. They had pizza that was made all the time, 24 hours that you can actually get. Then they had like buffet style food. Um, and then there was an option every single Delaware. Okay. So there's an option every single night where you can go and dress up and eat fancy. And, they had like filet mignon, they had, chicken, they had all kinds of just, fancy food as well. And it's pretty cool. It's an elegant dress up night, and that's free. Everything's free. Not only that, but on the boat, you got entertainment. So there was a comedian for that, they had an 18 and up comedian. They had, comedian where kids can come and do it. They had all types of like entertainment with regards to like dancing and all that type of stuff that you can watch with regards to that. And then the coolest thing for those of you who have kids, they had daycare. So from like 8 to 12, you can drop your kids off to this daycare from 8 in the morning to 12. Then they tell you to pick up your kid, obviously feed them and so forth. And then from like 4 to 10 at night, it was absolutely for free. But on the flip side, when we ported, one of the ports that we ported at, we were able to drop the twins off because I have twin boys that are 5, and then I have my older son who came. He's 14. But he was able to run and rip and run and do whatever the heck he wanted to do. But for the twins, when we ported at one of the ports, my twin boys, it's hard to keep them entertained. But at that daycare, or what they called it, camp for the kids, they kept them all day. They fed them and everything. So it's awesome. So you're not just stuck dealing with your kids. It's almost like a break from your kids to a certain extent. It's almost like sending them to school. But of course, we did stuff with them through and out and whatnot. But they got the daycare. They have a basketball court. They got miniature golf. They had this cool like bike that you can ride going around the ship, as well as they had like obstacle horses and stuff. And then if you want to go even further and you want to spend some money, they had options with regards to food and stuff that you could spend money on. But you can go absolutely for free with regards to that. And it was an awesome time. Like I told you, it's been my 8th cruise. My twin boys are only 5. They've been on 4 cruises. That was their 4th cruise. And I think we're going on another one at the beginning of next year. But it's going to be a shorter. It won't be a 7-day one. But nevertheless, I was able to do that. So that's why I love cruises. You're in Delaware. If you're able to cruise, obviously in your situation, you're going to probably either have to like fly to like Miami if you want to go like further, or if you want to do the Mexican one, you're going to have to obviously fly to, we went out of Long Beach, which is about 2 hours away from San Diego. But all that stuff is really cool. It's just inclusive. I don't know if you have kids or whatnot. If you do, it makes life cool. They get to have fun. You get to have fun. And, outside of just sleeping in the cabin, and depending on what type of cabin you get, those cabins you're on a boat, they're pretty much small unless, you get, like a bigger one, but you don't necessarily need it unless you're going to be on that boat in the room all the time, Oh, my older sister came and my younger sister came. So for those of you who don't know, I have 5. I'm part of a 5 family. I have an older brother, a younger brother, an older sister, a younger sister. So I'm right dead smack in the middle. But my younger sister actually came too. And I love her to death, but her family, the way that they move, they just don't do much. They were in the room a lot of the time. But nevertheless, it was a blast. It was cool to have everybody, my mother, my mother-in-law, my biological mother. I say biological mother because she didn't raise me, but we're on good terms, and everything along those lines. And my sister, and then my younger sister, her husband, and her daughter, and then my mother and father-in-law, and then it was me, my wife, my twin boys, and my oldest boy. Because I have 2 other kids from a previous relationship. I have a daughter and a son. My daughter's actually about to be 18. Jesus, can't believe that, next month. And then I have a son that is 12 who will be 13 come February. And then I have my other son who is 14 now, who lives with us. So that's where it's at. Never stop 30. Thank you for being on this live. I'm going to still do it. I don't care if no one was in the live. I'm going to continue to do this because I want to help. I have 7. I'm the oldest. Okay. You have 7 brothers and sisters and you're the oldest. Wow. That's got to be a lot. So you're the first for everything. I couldn't imagine being the oldest. Coming in the small and the 5 family, I couldn't imagine because you're the test. You're almost like the guinea pig because the last kid gets spoiled. The first kid don't get nothing. The middle kid gets lost in the sauce a lot of times, but that's cool though. 7, you're the oldest. Jeez. So yeah. So if you're just clicking in, if you have any questions about credit or debt, click the thing. I did go over the story with regards to pulling cash, how to get cash off of your credit card with no fees will be okay. So you got son's 23. 23 is a lucky number of mine. It's not because Michael Jordan. It's the day I was born. It's the day I was married. I just love that number. So that's cool. There's got to be a reason why you're in this live. Yep. So your son's 23. How's your son's credit? See, that's the thing. Credit's not taught in schools and things are tough. My 14-year-old son that lives with me, his FICO score is already at a 730. True. Yep. His FICO score is at a 730 already. And what I did was I add him as an authorized user on American Express that allow you to do it at 13 years old. He's had this credit card. I've had the history for over like 3 years, but he's had it for a year. And I'm teaching him all about credit and so forth. And yeah, it's pretty cool building his credit. When I turned 18, my credit was shot because people put stuff in my name, all that type of crap. But when my son turns 18, he's going to have a better credit score than I have now. Hopefully he's like in the 800s or whatnot, and life will be a little easier for him. But obviously I'm pushing him on grades. He's probably at like a 3.7 GPA and a lot of that type of stuff with regards to that. So yeah, so that son of yours, if you do have some credit cards that you keep in a good standings, right? Not a credit card that's maxed out, but and not a credit card that you have late payments on because you don't want him to inherit that credit history. So that's a way. He's a beginner. That's a way to establish his credit is to piggyback off of someone who has good credit, right? And it's called an authorized user account. So I have a card that if you don't, first of all, I'm always going to tell you the free way to try and do it. You got to find somebody you know, and typically for people who look like us, it's sort of kind of tough. But my wife, when I met her, who looks like us, she actually was an authorized user on a credit card from her mom, my mother-in-law, who has better credit than me, I would say, just because of her history. She got credit cards for 15, 20 years. But nevertheless, if you could find somebody with a good credit history with a credit card, you can basically piggyback off of their credit. And that's a way to grow. I'm not a big advocate of secure credit cards if you can find somebody to add you as authorized user, because with the secure credit card, it typically takes you about a year. And with the secure credit card, in case you guys don't know what that is, that's basically where you give the bank, let's say $200 to $500 to $1,000, even $2,000. They hold on to that and they'll give you the credit on a credit card and secured based on. Yes, I do not late here. It's based on. I'm not getting what you're saying. He's a beginner. Okay. But it's based on that, right? And so then it takes you about a year, sometimes even 2 years before they make it unsecured. And typically they'll give you your money back if you close out the account, or depending on what you sign. Some people, they get the money back. I think like Capital One doesn't give you the money back is what I'm hearing. But I'm not a big advocate of that. If you can find someone as an authorized user, you can do it for free. And then in the event that you have to pay, I could be your guy. I have an American Express credit card that has a $35,000 limit. I keep a 1% utilization or lower, typically zero, but sometimes I'll have $200 or $300 on that card. I may not pay it or it may lapse over or whatnot. And I've had it for 3 years. So if you're added as an authorized user on that card, you get that history and your credit utilization, depending on how many credit cards, even if they're maxed out, that $35,000 goes on. So let's say you had $10,000 worth of available credit and you were maxing it out at 80%. So you had $8,000 on that credit. Uh, you add this authorized user account of 35 grand. Now your credit goes from 10,000 to 45,000 because the 35 and the 10. And then you only have 8% of that use. So 369. $9,000 turn your credit utilization from before where you're at 80%, which is maxed out and hurting you, down to 30%, right? With regards to that. And so it helps you out. It'll jump your FICO score 40, 50 points. And then it's a leverage play in order to do so. So when you're added as authorized user, depending on your credit profile, because I may see your credit profile, and if your credit profile, if you have charge-offs and late payments and you have derogatory accounts, then it's not necessarily a good ploy with regards to that, because it's going to raise your score a little bit, and your credit utilization represents 30% of your FICO score or your credit score. So it could raise your score up a little bit, but the best way to go about it is when you get rid of the derogatory accounts. Then you add the authorized user. Once it appears on your credit profile, then you go apply for a credit card. And then instead of getting approved for the $300 to $500 credit card, when you have an authorized user, I've added authorized users. I've seen people get approved for as little as like $3,000, which is a lot better starting out, and as high as like 15 to 20 grand to 25 grand, depending on your credit profile. And the fact that they see that someone responsible knows you, chances are, like we all say, a little leaven's the whole lump. So if you are an authorized user on someone's account, chances are, and they're responsible, chances are you may be responsible. So creditors are more willing to take a chance on you. And in this aspect, once the authorized users added to your profile and you've set up your account the way it is, instead of the secure credit card, it's going to take you a year, maybe 2 years. With the authorized user, it goes on your credit report probably within 60 days, sometimes 30 days, sometimes, early, depending on when they're reporting it. And at that time span, as soon as it shows on your credit profile on all 3 credit bureaus, then you go apply for the credit card. Now we're talking 2-3 months and getting approved for a lot higher. So if you're going to take $500, $1,000 as a secured, you might as well go the authorized user route. And for clients that I have that are actually getting credit repair through me, I give them a better deal with regards to the authorized user because it's part of the strategy. If you weren't a client, I won't hit you over the head. Now you go look up authorized users and see how much they're charging for $10,000 account, just to put it on your credit profile as a trade line for 6 months. These people are charging thousands of dollars. I'm not going to hit you over the head with regards to that. First, I'm going to look at your credit and tell you if it's pliable, right? Most people aren't going to do that. They're going to say, oh, you want an authorized user account? Here you go. Pay me the money. And then you realize that it won't work. No problem. Then you realize that it don't work because your credit's messed up. See, most people think, oh, I'm in the 500s. I need to add an authorized user account. And then you go from let's say 500 to 550. You still bad credit. And then you waste your money getting that authorized user account. No, you clean up the profile first, which means you make sure that try and get rid of all late payments, any derogatory or charge off accounts first, whether you have to pay them or we factually dispute them for you. And then once that's done and your credit profile doesn't have any trade lines, or even better, if you did have like a car loan or something along those lines, you have the authorized user, you go up. Matter of fact, I just had a client that I did that for 2 months. 2 months ago, I added him as an authorized user. I just pulled his credit, and he was at like 630, 650, 670 was his credit, his FICO scores across the board. Once I added that authorized user account on his credit profile, now mind you, I have to let you know he did have a mortgage that he was paying on. He did have some stuff, but once we added him, his highest FICO score was an 811. He had an 811, and then the other ones were high sevens, like 780, 790, by just adding that authorized user account. But I've done it for countless people, and it works out. So that's why it's so key to understand what your circumstance is, because there is no one shoe size fits all. Yes, you want to get rid of derogatory accounts, late payments, collection accounts. That's across the board. but depending on your credit profile will determine what actual strategy. That's why the name of my company is Clear and Strategic. What clear strategic strategy that we're going to go about to help you. And the goal is to take every single client that I have, wherever you're at, and to get you at a 740 FICO score. I say 740 because at a 740, that's pretty much at that prime where you can get approved for almost anything depending on your credit profile. Because I'll be honest, I've had a 760 FICO score, but a thin credit profile. I didn't have no authorized user accounts, or I did. I had 2 authorized user accounts, but they were under like 6 months. And I applied for credit and I wasn't approved. So you can't get caught up on that number only. I've seen cases where people have had a 740 FICO score and somebody had a 680 FICO score, and the person with the 680 got approved. The person with the 740 got declined. So there are other factors that matter when you're looking at that. And a lot of times what that is your credit profile. Do you have a thin credit profile? Because if I'm looking at you and your FICO score is high because you got one thing on there and you're doing good with it, but then I look at somebody else who has 10 trade lines and nothing's ever late and few of the credit cards are maxed out, I know that their history, the payment history, is a little better than that new person. So I'm more willing to take a chance on the person who's had the credit going for a while. So that's why authorized user accounts are key, because if you find somebody they got 5 years of credit history, you can piggyback off of that. You get those, it'll show the 2 years of every time paid, and then it'll give you that credit limit depending on what the credit card is. So that's always key. But I try and get people to 740 because with the 740 FICO score, if you're trying to apply for a home, you're going to get the best interest rate. Now the interest rate's at 7%, but that's for a whole nother story. If I think that the housing market's going to crash, I definitely don't think it's a situation like what we had in 2008, because that situation was completely different. And this situation, I would say we're in a recession now, and the recession is going to last a lot longer. And the reason why I say then what happened in 2008 with the housing market crash, because when things went bad at that time span, for those of you who don't know, or maybe you do know, we had bailouts, right? They came in with that printer, printing up the Fed, printing up all this money and giving it to these companies because they couldn't afford to have them go underneath, which basically means that they buffered the situation. So these big banks, yes, hard inquiries are important. Typically over a 2-year time span, you don't want to have more than 2 inquiries on your credit profile. Now, I'll be honest with you, on mine, on one of my credit profiles, I have 4 inquiries, and on another one, I have 3. But typically, you want to have 2. And in order to get rid of the inquiries, unless you were approved for the stuff, because you don't want to get hard inquiries, is what's going to happen when you're trying to get approved for credit. If you get approved for that credit, you can't get rid of that inquiry. It's going to be on there for 2 years. If you dispute an inquiry that's attached to an account, they will close the account out. But there are times when most people who have bad credit, the biggest thing is going to apply for a car with bad credit. You go to the car lot, they run your credit 50 billion times trying to fish out and get you approved for some type of for a loan, right? A hard money loan is what it's considered when your credit's bad. It's going to be high interest, and it's typically on a used car that's crappy. It's going to go crappy anyways. But nevertheless, whenever you hear in-house financing. But let's get back to the inquiries. I know I could go on tangents. So once you applied, you don't get approved. Now, and then next thing you know, you look at your credit and it shows that you had 15 inquiries from different car companies or financial car institutions to try and give you that loan. Those accounts, as long as you didn't get approved for the car, you can dispute those accounts. And if you need help with that, I'll help you. But yeah, inquiries matter. There's a whole thing. So your payment history is the most important. That's 35% of your FICO score. Then 30% is your utilization on your credit cards. So I'm a big advocate on using your credit cards like debit cards. Only spend what you have in the bank. And the cool thing about doing that is you get points and stuff. Never stop 30. I don't know what your real name is, but if you are using a debit card, it's a no-no. Do not use never stop 30. I know I'm calling you that. Never stop 30. I wonder what that means, but nevertheless, do not use a debit card. Debit cards don't get you nothing. I have nothing but credit cards. Here's about 13. I probably got like 2 others that aren't in my wallet because I don't use them as much. With a debit card, you get nothing when you spend it. With a credit card, you're going to get points, depending on what credit card you have. Like, you got those, First Premier or Credit One or any of those type of credit cards, I say get rid of them because they charge you fees and it's not good. But use your credit cards like debit cards. Set up your bills that you normally would pay out of your debit card, i.e. your energy bill, your cell phone, Netflix, gym memberships, all that type of stuff, pay it on a credit card. You have the money budgeted, set aside to pay it out of your debit card anyways. Why not put it on a credit card and then pay it off? And that's how you make money. With regards to it, never stop 30. Guess what? I had a client, this is probably like 3 months ago now, after going over his budget, because one of the things we do with credit repair, first of all, I have a passion for this, but it's not just about getting rid of derogatory accounts, right? That's true. It's not about just getting rid of derogatory accounts. That's the main thing when people come to me for. But the financial education part matters. So the beginning part is your foundation, your numbers. You got to understand how much money's coming in and how much money's going out. I've had friends who've made $1 million a year. I've even had a friend who made $1 million a month, but he spent $1 million a month. So he's just as broke as the person who makes $100 a month and spends $100 a month. He may look better because he has probably a nice car and a nice house and all that, but it's not always about how much money you make. It's how much money you take at the end of paying bills. But you got to have that foundation. The second part is disputing the accounts, getting rid of that. And then the third part is growing your credit. Because just because you don't have any derogatory accounts, that's like no credit if you don't have any credit lines going. So that matters with regards to that. So always understand that. It is very, very, very key that you have your foundation, you don't have any derogatory accounts, and you understand what it is to build credit. But what I was saying with regards to this client that I said, after doing his budget and so forth, cleaning up his credit, come to find out he has a big family. He spent about $4,000 a month on groceries, which he had budgeted because he makes pretty good money, and he has a big family. And he was always paying those grocery bills on his debit card. And I didn't know till we actually talked about it. So what did I do? I found him a card that gave him 5 points for every dollar he spent on groceries. $4,000 a month, he got 5 points. He was getting $350 to $500 a month just by using the credit card on something he would have done with the debit card. The difference is the debit card wouldn't have gave him the $400. The credit card does. And that's what growing credit, instead of crossing our fingers, which is what we all do, right? Even some of us with good credit who don't understand credit. We say, oh, yeah, let me apply for this credit card. Let me apply for this credit card. And then we cross our fingers and hope we get approved. Then you get approved for it. And hey, you just start using the credit card. You don't understand the benefits aspects of it. If you're a person who spends on groceries, you're a person who drives a lot and spends on gas, you're a person who does these things. Those are bills that you're going to pay each month. If you drive an hour to work every single day and every weekend you got to fill up your gas tank, and depending on what type of car you got, and you're using a debit card, that don't make no sense. Find a gas card that's going to give you 3 to 5 points back so that way you're going to use it anyways. You have the money budgeted anyways. Take that, use a credit card, get some extra cash, and then take that money and use it. People are always saying, dang, man, you're always going on vacations and stuff. Like, are you rich? No, far from rich. I'm going to be rich, but I'm far from rich. I use credit cards, and I'm able to go, me and my wife were able to go on a vacation. And this is outside of the cruises and so forth, because my mother-in-law is able to find deals and so forth. But because I rack up the points, especially for a lot of you guys now, the holidays is coming and you got to pay bills and so forth. Imagine if you had a card that you were paying your regular bills on and you were getting points all year long. And then you waited till towards the end of the year and then you cash in on those points. You wouldn't get it with the debit card, but you will get it with the credit card. So those are the things that we teach with regards to credit. And that's why it's very, very important that you do so. Now, if you guys, anybody else, I don't care who it is, if you have any other questions about credit or that, put them down in the chat and I will answer those questions to the best of my ability. I do consider myself an expert when it comes to credit and so forth. On the personal side, I have over 6 figures of available credit and 1 to 0% utilization. I used to always say 0%, but around this time, I leave some balances on credit cards depending on what I'm trying to do. And then on the business side, one of the things I always encourage every single person, you start a side hustle, you get your LLC, and you start building business credit. Now, in the beginning, you can leverage your personal credit on the business side. Like, for instance, I'm going to tell you a story about me. And I've told this a lot, but some of you guys haven't heard it. When I started my credit repair business back in 2020, right? So I've cleaned up people's credit probably last 7 years. Friends and family mainly, just doing letters, doing stuff and cleaning up the credit. Once the pandemic hit and I had a collection company, I didn't feel comfortable calling people to pay a debt when I knew that they couldn't even pay their rent or their mortgage. And I started as a debt collector. I have a few cards, but I don't know the great one. I like my city and Discover. I want to increase my income too. Right. Let me ask you this, because you are the one talking and I'm going to help you out. You get one-on-one coaching, which is something that I do that I charge a lot more money for, but you're getting it for free, but coming in live and asking questions and having that thing. When's the last time you asked for a credit increase on your Citibank and Discover credit card? This is something else I teach people, but I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give you that nugget for free. When the last time you asked for a credit increase? And I'm not gonna even wait for an answer. Every 6 months you do that. I call it my 6-month anniversary. Twice a year, I'm asking for a credit card increase on every single card that I have outside of the American Express. I have 2 of these because they're like no limit. But every single, like I just asked for credit card increases about 3 months ago, and I got about $60,000 worth of credit. And then I tell my wife to do it. See, for those of you who are married, you get the wife or the husband or the significant other. I don't care what it is. You guys team up, you add as authorized users, and then as I'm asking for credit increases on the 13 credit cards I have, I believe my wife has about 7 or 8 credit cards, I tell her to ask for the increases. Same situation. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. So with that city, and you have 2 credit cards that companies that I have not dealt with. I'm gonna get a Discover credit card, or I want to, but I want to make sure that when I apply for credit cards now, it has to be something that's going to benefit me because I have so many. So it has to make sense. You don't know. Now is the time. As long as you don't have any late payments, even if those cards are a little maxed out a little bit, ask for a credit limit increase. If you've been making those payments every time, you'd be surprised. And majority of those credit cards, they're not going to do a hard inquiry pull. It's going to be a soft one because you already have it. So they're going to, most credit card companies, I'm not sure about Discover or Citibank because I don't have any of those, but eventually I will get them, but it has to make sense. But I have American Express, I have Chase, and then I have Apple Card, and then I have Capital One, the Quicksilver card. And then I have like 3 credit cards through my credit union. So if you bank with a big bank, get out of that big bank and go get with a credit union. Credit unions are better. And I'll tell you exactly why I believe that is true. Big banks make money off of the stock market. People who own shares. That's who they care about mainly, right? That's why a lot of times they have fees, whether it's fees for NSFs, they're always high, or fees for each month if you don't have a certain amount of money in your bank account, or they want you to slide the card a couple of times. And I'll come back to the slide in the card. If I forget, I'll tell you why they do that. With credit unions, they're privately owned, so it's not the stock market. And their money is made off of you as an individual putting money in there. Yep. And Discover, I heard, is good at doing that, lowering your interest, but ask for more credit. Get more credit. I don't care if you need it or not. You got to have discipline not to spend it on stuff that you don't need because you're using credit cards like debit cards, like I told you. But yeah, ask for a credit card increase on the Discover and the Citi, and then mark down 6 months from the day that you ask, and next 6 months ask again, and every 6 months ask. That's what I do with all my credit cards, and that's why I'm over six figures. $250,000 on the personal side, just to be specific. And that happened in less than 2 years, in about 2 years. But nevertheless, with credit unions, their money's based off of you as the individual put money in there and giving loans. That's why they give the best interest rates and so forth with regards to that. You have a Quicksilver, yep. This bad boy. But block my name. But let me make it clear. That bad boy. But this is the thing. Capital One and me have not had the best of relationships. Capital One is one of them people who don't give credit limit increases. But I think it's because of me and my relationship with them. The first credit card I ever had was a Capital One Platinum card. And, I had it. I didn't know anything about credit increases. I got approved for $300. I think maybe a year into it, they just gave me a $500 limit. And then I was going to pay off the card, and I ended up checking. They gave me $3,000. And back then, I was irresponsible. It was back in like 2008, 9. Irresponsible with credit. I didn't know no better. I use credit like most Americans. It's like, oh, if I can't afford it, then I put it on the credit card, and then I pay the credit card back, which is the dumbest thing to do with credit cards. But nevertheless, the $3,000 eventually ended up going to collections. I ended up not paying it. And they end up 1099 seeing me for that. Maybe 4 years after not paying it, which meant that on my taxes one year, I had to count it as earned income, but it came after I already filed. So I ended up owing the government like $300, $300 or $400 that I had to pay. But nevertheless, I had that card. I didn't pay it. And so I think, they have me in their archives, even though it's been, 12 years or 15 years or whatever it's been. And so they never did it. So this Quicksilver card is my lowest balance. And I only have $3,000. All my credit cards is the lowest one, and it's a $3,000. And I just recently applied for this. Check out my my YouTube. Ask a Debt Collector is what it's called. I think it's in the thing here. And I talk about Capital One. I have a Wells Fargo since I was 18. Just started PenFed. PenFed is a credit union, I believe. Yeah, Wells Fargo is another one of those companies I haven't cracked the code on. I just got into Chase. I have the Chase Freedom Unlimited card. This one I was able to get $18,000. It's probably about a month ago, because everything that I have for the most part was through American Express, because they're the ones who gave me the shot in the beginning, and then I just kept increasing and going that route, and then they cut a lot of my stuff, but I should be getting those limits back. But majority of the stuff they cut was on the business standpoint, because I have like I was telling you, I leveraged my personal credit, and I was able to get these two credit cards through American Express, and they gave me $10,000 limit on both of those credit cards and zero APR for the first year. So basically, I got $20,000 with zero interest for a year. And so that goes back to what I was saying with regards to starting a side hustle and getting that business going. Because if you start that side hustle and you get that business going, business credit is so much easier to get once you start establishing it. And to start out, people tell you to do the net 30s and so forth, which I'm not against. But if you are lacking money, which is most people who are entrepreneurs trying to grow their business, you got to leverage that personal credit. So what happens is, what that means is basically these two credit cards only show They don't show on my personal credit. But if I was to default and not pay it, then they can come after me personally for the credit card. But that's how you leverage it, because I had $0 in the bank when I started this credit repair company, just whatever the amount was to open the checking account. And I was able to get approved for these because my personal credit was right. That's why you got to work on the personal credit. So in the beginning, if I'd have got net 30 accounts, it doesn't work. They did the same to me. I started with a secured Capital One. So secured. But yeah, I did. My first credit card wasn't secured. I didn't even know anything about credit at the time. Now, mind you, my first credit card I didn't get till I was about 22 or 23 years old. It actually was a thing that came in. Wells Fargo is my bank. Get out of Wells Fargo. If you have Wells Fargo, Wells Fargo is probably one of the worst ones. Yeah, Wells Fargo is probably one of the worst. As you know, they got in trouble for opening up a bunch of accounts in people's names. They do a lot of stuff in that regard, but credit unions, your local credit union, try and apply there. And once you go there with your credit score, once you hit me up and we get you back in that 700 club, you'll be able to get approved. We start out with credit cards through them, through that credit union that you go through. They're going to give you the best deals, give you the higher limits and so forth. And you'll be able to start building with regards to that. So that is the circumstance. So I got about 4 more minutes. I'm going to stay on here for an hour. Like I say, I'm going to do every single Tuesday. So Never Stop 30. Check me out next Tuesday. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't. I got probably like 250, 260 videos about credit and debt. A lot of stuff that I'm telling you is for free on there. And then obviously, if you're wanting to build that credit out, you wanting to get your credit where you want to be, sign up for a 20-minute free consultation with me. And I'll see, because I might look at your credit and you might not need credit repair. You might just need a few things to be done. You might need the authorized user account. You might need whatever the circumstance is. You might not even have to pay for nothing. I might just tell you what to do to knock it down. And typically people who are around the mid 600s, it's a lot easier to fix your credit, because chances are, like I said, it's simple. You just need to pay down your credit cards. And, if you did have any late payments, show you how to get rid of those late payments and you'll be good to go. So it was awesome being able to sit down and talk with you one-on-one. Hopefully I gave you some information that's helping you with regards to your credit journey. I always tell everybody, if you're in the 4s, the 5s, or the 6s, chances are you probably need credit repair. If you're in the mid 650s and above, chances are you probably just need some talking to. Another thing, if you go to www.clearandstrategic.com, go to that website. I will be starting coaching. It was something that I was telling you guys with regards to before. My battery's actually about to die, so I'll get this in really quick. Coaching. Check out that website. See what it is with regards to it. I'm going to be updating some stuff, and we'll get it going. Oh, you've subbed already. Perfect. Awesome. So check that out. Check me out next Tuesday. And then if you have any questions, I gave you my email. Reach out to me. And then hopefully we can do a 30-minute consultation and set that up. It's our 20-minute consultation. It'll be free. And I love you guys. Thank you, every one of you guys who did tune in and who are going to watch this later. Awesome. And next Tuesday, I'll see you same time. You guys, and I truly say this on all my videos, and I believe I really mean it, be great. Talk to you guys later.